So you're ready to kick off your learning and development project, but you're not sure where to start with needs analysis? Well, in this video, we're going to talk all about how to develop a learner persona. Hi friends, I'm Vanessa, and I help aspiring instructional designers and e-learning developers get off of the sidelines and get into the L&D game. And today, like I mentioned, we're talking all about learner personas. And one of the pieces of the instructional design process that I feel always gets left out is this part about needs analysis and learner persona and targeting who our audience actually is. And the reason for that is I feel like whether you're a freelancer or whether you are an internal employee, a lot of times you're given topics that need to be trained. And you're not really treated as a consultant, which is such a huge disservice to the organization, to our profession. But real talk, that's what happens. And so often you're told by higher ups, what the problem is and how to fix it. And that fix is always training. And they don't take the even 20 minutes to just analyze exactly what the problem is and what could be causing it. Instead, they just jump into, our people just need to be trained better, or the training wasn't effective, or this is my favorite, it wasn't jazzy enough, like whatever the that means. So I think that as a consultant and as an instructional designer, it is key to have that conversation with your, with your stakeholders, with your project sponsor, and just say, you know what, let's just pump the brakes 2 seconds and let's just have a conversation about who our learner is. Because you know what, if you create a training for everyone, you're going to end up training nobody. And when you create a training that's just so generic, so out there, and you don't really have a basis of where the learner stands, you're going to lose someone. So whether you make it a little bit too advanced for people that just are not, at that level yet, you're going to lose them. They're going to not know where you are. They're not going to understand concepts that you're explaining, or you're brushing over and assuming, the learner has that knowledge and that content. Or it's going to be so elementary, right? Because you're assuming everyone's starting at ground zero, no one knows anything, but you actually have learners that know a lot about the topic. And they're just bored to tears and they feel like it's such a waste of their time. And so they take this training and they're like, I don't even know why I'm even doing this. This is so boring. It is awful and awful. Hashtag Jersey. It's so awful, and they just check out and they're not paying attention. It could actually be a very effective training for a beginner, just not effective for your target or your ideal learner. And that's where these learner personas come in. And you're going to want to gather some content about, who your ideal audience. And some of that's going to come from conversation with, your project sponsor. Some of that's going to come from conversation with, the team, the subject matter expert. So you're going to want to get some of their buy-in and some of their information about who they think the learner is. And then you're going to want to do a survey and just do like a wide, across the board analysis of, who is it that is part of your target audience. So you're going to ask things like about things like, demographics, their comfortability with technology, right? And understanding where they are with technology. So you don't want to create something that's super high tech or that's super complicated if they're not sure where the play button is on the screen, things like that. All things to keep in the back of your mind. You're going to want to know more about what are their preferences, right? So do they like to be in, more face-to-face instructor-led training? Do they like to have a job aid while they are, working because they can easily reference it? Do they utilize the knowledge base that, the company intranet? Things like that are really helpful to give you a clear understanding of where these people are going when they have questions, to help you with building your curriculum. And a lot of times that's probably one of the first questions I ask when I'm asked to do a training And I always say, so where are they going when they have a question now? 9 times out of 10, they turn around to their manager and saying, hey manager, I need help on X, Y, and Z. And that manager is helping them, of course, and not getting to their work. And then they are having to work late and into the evenings because they are not able to help or they're not able to get to their task because they're so busy all day helping their teammates. So you want to ask some of those questions just to kind of get more of an understanding about who your learner is. You're going to want to know about what are their pain points, right? So what are the things that really they struggle with? What are some areas they feel like they could do better? What would they do to improve, the challenge or the process or whatever it is that you might be training on? I think that's a really great question. Let them help provide feedback as to what they would improve. Then I ask them what motivates them. What are some of their goals? This is really where we start getting into that like mind of your learner. What are their behaviors? What are the things that they like, the things that they don't like? You're really crafting a true persona, and it's like you're molding your ideal learner. And I laugh because I was literally just watching this on Hulu, an episode of Sabrina the Teenage Witch. And she crafted her ideal boyfriend out of like kind of like a dough. And she added all of these ingredients to make the ideal boyfriend, which is obviously Brian Austin Green, because hashtag 90210. Luke Perry, rest in peace. So anyway, and so you're kind of doing that same concept, just not physically creating them out of dough and hoping that they come to life. But so that's what you're starting to do with your learner persona, is that you're trying to learn more about who they are. What are the tools that they use at their job? What are skills that they have, and what are skills that they're trying to gain? And they're going to take all of that information, and you're also going to do some interviews. And so I don't want you to leave it at a survey. I want you to do some interviews, and I want you to interview everyone. Right? So it's not everyone as in every single person, but everyone as in every range of type of person in your audience. So from your super users to your like mid-range to people that are just barely making it, or they're lagging, or they're falling behind. This is where you get your range, so you understand, okay, where is my middle and where do I have my system strugglers, and do I have to create some additional tools to help bring those system strugglers up to speed a little bit more. All information that you can then use to craft a holistic learning plan. So it's not just training being a one and done type situation. It is a plan. It's a one time, maybe activity that you're doing, and then there's follow-up, right? There's coffee chats depending on what you're training on, but there's coffee chats that you can use. There are job aids that you can have. There are, one-on-one sessions that you can offer. There are, how-to modules. There's knowledge base that you can create. There's all these different things that you can then create that are all part of the puzzle, all part of the learning puzzle, to help everyone, and to help your ideal learner. But if you don't get down to interviewing people on the wide range, you won't really know exactly where your average is to help you create that ideal learner persona. So once you have this deep dive into your audience and you start to look at all of your information, you're going to want to start crafting your learner persona, right? And so this is where you can have a lot of fun. And I've seen some things where you start using like sticky notes, and you could just like a whiteboard or just a wall. I've seen some people create them using things like PowerPoint, Word, but I've also seen people use tools like Miro board to create this learner persona, where they have different quadrants that talk about what are, some of the likes, some of the dislikes, what are the demographics on your ideal learner, what are some of the how long have they been in the organization? What are some of the things that are their pain points about the process, or just about their job in general? All of these different things help to make this person a real person. So you could do all of these things to create a learner persona, but if you don't actually go back to my analogy of Sabrina Teenage Witch and you create that person, you give them a name, it doesn't really help you. I've actually created learner personas using Canva, and I will use their resume template, and I'll find a stock image of my ideal learner based on their demographics, right? And demographics does include things like race, age, all of the things. And, I was able to find a picture of them, and then I created a little resume for them. And that was something that I could then print, put in front of me, on my cork board, or pull it up while I'm creating, content, or I am writing a storyboard, or as I'm reviewing content, to help me get into that mind of that learner. And so it's a really interesting tool that you can use that really brings the person to life. Give them a name. So I volunteer for Design by Humanity, and so for our group, we gave our person a name, Greta May Evans. I think we gave her a last name. That's how deep in we were. And so we would just think back, like, okay, is Greta, what did Greta learn? How did she, what's the best tool for her to understand, we were doing some de-escalation techniques. What's the best tool for her to understand de-escalation techniques? She's a teacher at a middle school in a more urban setting. How much time does she have to take this training? All of these things helped influence, our training in the end and our learning plan. And it just helps make the training a little bit more personal. You really can connect with your audience, because sometimes you're not going to know the people that are going to take the training, right? Especially as a consultant. I don't know most of the time who my learners are, like, by name. I never see them. I never get to connect with them, like, while they're taking their training, or, if it's an e-learning module, or really afterwards, or I'm able to connect with them, like, in the long term. Those are all left up for my clients, but by having this persona, I'm able to have this connection while I'm creating. That keeps it in the back of my mind, like, as I'm doing the whole process of how would they feel about it, what would they improve upon, and is this something that actually applies to them, and is this something that they would actually find value in? Does it make sense for them as a learner? All great information to have as you're creating your learner personas and as you're creating your learning plans and your training modules. So I find this tool to be incredibly powerful, because at the end of the day, like I said, if you're training everyone, you're really going to train no one. And I like to make learning stick and make learning fun. This is just a tool that I'm able to do that. And I love to have these conversations with my clients and say, listen, I understand you don't want to take this time because you want to just get down. You think you know what the problem is. But if we take this time to really think about and analyze your learner, understand who we're talking to, it's going to end in better results for your organization, because they're going to retain the information better. They're going to feel more connected to the content, and they are going to feel like they were part of the learning and they are in control. At the end of the day, they're adult learners. They want to feel like they are part of their training and part of their professional development. So the next time that you get a stakeholder that thinks that this part of the process can be skipped, I want you to ask them what the cost is to the organization if the training doesn't hit the mark and the students or the learners don't retain the knowledge. Well, they're probably going to have to go back to the drawing board. Well, let's backtrack a little before that. They'll probably continue to have the same mistake or not see any efficiencies in the process that they're trying to roll out or they're trying to improve upon. And then they're going to have to go back to the drawing board and think about how they can address or fix this, this problem again, which means they'll be paying again in time, money, efficiencies, all of these different areas. They're going to be paying for the program again, and to redo, the program and create something that is actually, hopefully this time, actually hits the mark. So at the end of the day, end up paying twice for something that they had just done the process and taken the time from the beginning. You pay one time and then you update as needed in the future, but it's like kind of a one and done type deal. Not that training's a one and done. It really is a living organism, but for the most part, you don't have to redo it a year later. And if you're a freelancer or consultant, they can turn around and say, oh, well, Vanessa, you did not you know, you did not perform as you said you were, or deliver what you said you were going to deliver, and so we won't be using you in the future. Your reputation, which as a freelancer, as a business owner, your reputation is all that you have at the end of the day, and it's the most important thing that you have. So you want to make sure that that's still absolutely intact. So are you ready to take the next step and launch your instructional design career? Well, click the link in my description box for my free 6-step blueprint to break into the L&D industry. Friends, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.